of you young folks been saying to me, hey, Pops, what you mean, what a wonderful world? How about all them wars all over the place? You call them wonderful? And how about hunger and pollution? They ain't so wonderful either. But how about listening to old Pops for a minute? Seems to me it ain't the world that's so bad, but what we are doing to it. And all I'm saying is see what a wonderful world it would be if only we'd give it a chance. Love, baby, love. That's the secret. Yeah. If lots more of us loved each other, we'd solve lots more problems. And man, this world would be a ghetto.
Hi, this is Amy Kelly. I'm with Austin Brighton Free Radio, and today I'm joined by Ken Ostrander, who is running for office with the Green Party for state representative in the Austin Brighton area. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Today was the deadline to turn in our signatures for our nomination papers, and for state representative, I need to get 150 signatures to get on the ballot. And I think it's going to be close. We have more than 150 signatures, but they all have to. There's some very stringent regulations as far as what's acceptable. They have to be registered voters in my district, which is a very specific area, and they all have to be registered either as Green Party, which is my party, or as independents. So that's really problematic. I mean, if you're standing out on a street corner, it's really problematic to talk to somebody, ask them if they're a registered voter, ask them if they're independent, you know, ask them where they live, find out if they can sign your form. The better way to do it is to go door to door and actually talk to the people in your district. I got a list of registered voters in my district, and I was able to sort it by street and just go down each street and kind of target the people that could sign my form.
So what was that like?
It was really exciting, actually. You get out there and talk to the people. You know, you knocking on the doors, and some people, you know, they don't know what to think of you and you know what you're selling or anything. I'm like, no, I just want a signature. You know, I don't want any money. But
yeah, okay.
We'll see how that works out. I think it'll take a couple of weeks before I find out if we got all the necessary signatures.
Yeah. So this is part of the clean elections agenda.
Well, the clean elections thing is more monetary. It's in order to qualify for clean elections funding, I would need to get 200 qualifying contributions, which could be anywhere from $5 to $100 for an individual. And, well, they would all have to be in my district as well. And I got a real problem asking people for money.
Yeah.
But as far as where my campaign's going, it's, you know, we haven't really spent a lot of money. We've made a few flyers, and that's about it. Just some photocopying. I mean, once I find out if I'm on the ballot, that's when the campaign really begins.
Right. So I assume that a lot of the other people in the Green Party are out rushing around trying to get the last bit of signatures.
Well, yeah, actually, that's why several of them aren't here, because the statewide candidates have an extra week to get their signatures. So they're really trying to get out there and beat the street and get the signatures that they need. For governor and lieutenant governor, Jill Stein is running for governor on the Green Party ticket, and Anthony Lawrenson is running for lieutenant governor. They need 10,000 signatures each, which is, you know, it's a lot of signatures.
That is.
James O'Keefe is running for state treasurer, and he would need 5,000 signatures to get on the ballot.
So the next week is really crunch time for them.
Yeah, well, the window that they give you for this is pretty short.
Right.
I mean, the nomination papers are released in February, and then you have a couple of months to get all this together, to get it done.
Yeah.
It's some serious work.
What brought you into politics in the first place?
Well, the whole idea that it's, you know, I have a great faith in democracy. I believe that the democratic principles that this country's founded on are beautiful, wonderful. But I don't feel represented by the state legislature here or by my government in general. I think that you know, you have these well-entrenched politicians who've got their connections. They've been doing it for years. They have the campaign funding. They have big money interests behind them, and they have this political machine working for them. And it's daunting to anybody that would even try to run against them.
Right.
I mean, all of these signatures and everything aside, you know, just the idea, you know, how can I compete with this kind of competition? You know, I don't have these big money. I can't have these big commercials. I can't. It's really a problem. And this clean elections law is sort of trying to target that problem, but the people these well-entrenched politicians in their state legislature recognize it as a threat, and so they refuse to fund it.
I see. So they just continue to add the hoops that you need to jump through, is it? Yeah. Okay. Now I have a list of some of the things that you are interested in, and if you are fortunate enough to be elected, which I hope you are, you are interested in being a voice for the community. I understand you've been doing this radio show on Allston Brighton Free Radio for about a year now, is that
I've
right?
been doing the Green Party show on Allston Brighton Free Radio. That's on Sundays from 2 to 3, and that's 1670 a.m. Allston Brighton Free Radio. People can listen on the web as well at www.abfreeradio.org.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that for more than a year. I was actually asked by Steve Provisor, who runs the Citizens Media Corps, which is the organization that runs Allston Brighton Free Radio and keeps it afloat. He asked us if we would do a Green Party show, the Allston Brighton Green Party, which I helped to start. And we were pretty excited about it. We got a bunch of people involved, and we were doing the show every week, and gradually it kind of people had to leave for various reasons.
Yeah,
but the show goes on. It's been going on every Sunday, so it's really exciting. The whole concept of community media is something that it's an endangered species, really.
Yeah, I guess it goes back to the point about being invested in what a true democracy is, in terms of being able to have the community come together and speak out, and have the people in office just represent what the people want, I guess.
Well, one thing I'd like to do to help provide a voice for our community would be to hold town hall meetings. We could do it in cable access. We could do it via the radio and web access. Have people come in and actually discuss what they think their problems are and the things that need to be solved.
Right.
Get the real community input. I mean,
Yeah.
representative democracy, you know, there's sort of a disconnect.
Yes.
And the whole idea of, you know, what side of the bread it's buttered on, the whole campaign finance thing, it seems that a lot of these politicians are beholden to the interests that keep them there.
Right.
And it's, you know, there's a voice for their interests and not for their constituents.
Right. That makes sense. Now, I understand a few of the things that you're interested in improving are creating affordable housing options. I know that's an issue for a lot of us.
Right. Yeah. Well, I've been a tenant in Brighton for 7 years, and I recently the landlady sold the house that I lived in, and the new guy wanted to get me out of there, but I stuck fast to it. But he ended up doubling my rent, you know, and promising to do some repairs on the roof, but they haven't been done. You know, it's all been kind of superficial stuff. And he's, you know, threatening to, well, not threatening, but he wants to turn one of our common rooms into another bedroom kind of thing. And that...
To get more money out of it?
Well, it's, you know, he'll get more money. He's like, our rent won't go up, but he's
Right.
going to be making more money because he'll be able to charge more for that space. And it's just, you know, the quality of life just goes down. I think one of a main issue that ties into this affordable housing thing is the lack of owner occupancy throughout Boston. You have landlords that will take a space and just pack it with students, whoever they can get in there. The students will pay, because typically off-campus housing is a little less expensive than on-campus housing.
Right.
So they'll pay, and especially if the more people you can fit in the apartment, the cheaper it's going to be. And so the landlord doesn't care. If they don't live there, they don't care about how it affects the community. They don't care about the noise problems. They don't.
And the upkeep of the...
Yeah, and the building, you know, they'll, you know, if the building starts falling apart, they'll go as long as they can. They'll only repair what they have to. It's like crisis management.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. There does seem to be a gap for the postgraduates. There's sort of a 25 to 35-year-old range of people living in Alston-Brighton who maybe would like to be able to buy a house.
Mm-hmm.
Would you have any suggestions about things that we could do in the community to help people?
Well, there are groups in the community that are doing that kind of thing right now. There's
Yeah.
the Alston-Brighton Community Development Corporation,
Mm-hmm.
and they educate people on how to buy a house, what to look for, and they help to get money to these people. And they also are on the lookout for properties that could be used for affordable housing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of organizations out there that are doing good work. You know, we just need to tap into that. We need
Right.
to help them.
Yeah, yeah. And maybe educate people about what kind of community services are there, what kind of benefits are around for,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to help people. Let's see, you're also interested in improving public transportation.
Well, yeah, increase funding, first off.
Yeah.
I like the idea of even lowering fares,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even eliminating them. You know, try and get free tea. That sounds like a great idea. You know, how many people would ride then? Of course,
Yeah.
where would the money come from?
Yeah.
You know, that's the question that I always get. But
Right.
I have
right.
some ideas about that, about how the budget problems that we're having. You know, there's some major discrepancies in our tax codes. You know, it's the fact that taxes are based primarily on income and sales taxes and property taxes, and that's heavily weighed against lower income people. And then you see where you have Fidelity and Raytheon get these huge tax breaks. I think it's $100 million for Raytheon, $50 million for Fidelity, and this is just so that they'll stay in the community, and you know, it's supposed to be to provide jobs. But that's especially in the wake of what's happened in September. It seems like, you know, we're still giving out these money, but they amount to payoffs for layoffs.
I see.
Because the same thing happened on the federal level with the airline industry. You see how we give all this money to these companies, and the people still get fired, and the people who really need the money aren't really getting it.
Yeah, yeah,
We really need the help. Some desperate people out there.
yeah, yeah. So all of this is sort of tied in. You have protecting civil rights. I see you're interested in protecting a woman's right to choose, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Improving public education, abolish the MCAS standardized test as a requirement. That's interesting.
Well, you know, I think that all the money and effort that goes into these standardized tests is taking away from real education. I think it's a helpful tool to kind of see what students need, gauge how we can help students, but as a requirement for graduation, it doesn't really make sense.
Right, right. It looks like we have a videotape of the convention from last Saturday.
Oh yeah, the Green Party nominating convention
Yes.
that went on at Bunker Hill Community College this past Saturday.
Yeah.
I was actually endorsed by the Massachusetts Green Party. It's very exciting.
Yeah. So I guess we'll be able to see a clip of that soon, I assume. Do we have a couple minutes here? So let's see. We have all of these points on your on the sheet here do kind of cover the 10 key values of the Green Party, and I guess you know, a lot of the folks that we'll be seeing maybe on this tape with the convention, they all are kind of coming from that same place, that people are sharing the same values. A lot of the platforms that people have are in that are coming from that place. So
All right. Well,
yeah.
let's take a look at it.
Yeah.
I wanted to just give a brief sort of overview. I don't know how familiar folks are with the history of the Greens, and then talk a little bit about what I think we gathered together on, sort of what is our common work. Our foundations are really in activism, anti-nuclear, most noticeably, particularly in Germany, and then also pro-peace movements. And so In the U.S., we're really founded on a tradition of people's struggle, which is what our country was founded on.
Yeah, those aren't going to get blank right now. Do you all think that we could put those posters a little bit lower then? So we have something in the background and then we could
Need to create a section.
Sure.
Something besides a blank wall.
Is this enough light? I'll drag that plant box over there.
But okay. We'll do this? Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, actually, we register people as we go. If people aren't registered and they want to be, we try to carry as many of the registration cards with us so that people can register in whatever party they want to become involved with the process.
Right, and as I know, you all can only register voters who are green card or independent voters.
That's right, yes. But we're finding a lot of people want to change their enrollment so that they can help get an unsold voice on the ballot.
Right, okay.
On that ballot and create a more open discussion. I'm one of a new class of Greens who have been, what shall I say, really motivated, really pushed to become political because we don't like what we're seeing. Linda?
Yes.
Sure. Many of the disenfranchised voters are actually Democrats. There's a large constituency of previously registered Democrats who feel like their issues have been abandoned by the party.
And so they're flocking to the Green Party.
They are flocking to the Green Party. They and students who feel like their education, their access to higher education is being, pulled out from under them. The funding for our public colleges is being decimated. They're walking into a very uncertain future. So on all these counts, health, justice, democracy, the economy, people feel like there's nowhere else to go. This is a really exciting time for the Green Party. With the clean elections having been at the forefront of the political discussion now for years, the expectations have really been raised. People want a government that responds to people, to the public interest and not to the special interests. So I think there's widespread disenfranchisement and voter outrage around clean elections and the fact that the legislature has refused to fund the law. They're violating the law, they're violating the Constitution that gives us a right to voter initiatives, and they're violating the mandate of the Supreme Court. So, the public is looking for an opportunity to take our government back and get it to do the right thing. So we're offering that on any number of other issues. We have really become the sole voice of the public interest on health care, on an economy that works for people, on living wages that can keep our workers out of poverty, on an environment that's safe for our communities and safe for our children. We have the prospect of clean elections funding, which we're still hoping that the legislature will do the right thing and release the $23 million. On any number of fronts, people are having a hard time. We have an economy that's been in decline. Even though we had a boom of the 90s, it was a boom for whom? It was a boom in Massachusetts for the wealthiest 20%. All other income groups lost wages and lost benefits, security, and opportunities for advancement. So these have been hard times in the economy. We have an unraveling environment. We have a growing gap between rich and poor. We have a crisis in healthcare. We have a crisis in housing. So, the public is not being served by a government that's virtually owned by big money special interests who are in control of the traditional political parties and who fund campaigns. 85% of the money funding legislative campaigns in Massachusetts is coming from a mere 1% of voters. That's the richest 1%, led by lawyers, lobbyists, and political action committees. I think the Greens are emerging because the other parties are not serving people's interests, and I think people feel increasingly disenfranchised from government and that government is not talking to them. We're looking at this incredible rising tide of people who don't vote. Half of voters don't vote now, half of citizens don't vote, and the largest group of non-voters is among our younger people. So, I think there's widespread disenfranchisement out there, and it's the perfect time for there to be a third party. With the Nader campaign having sown some seeds, people became aware that there was an alternative. And the Green Party achieved enough votes in the Nader campaign to get ballot status. And several of us have come forward, to run for office to try to meet that need for a public voice that's really serving the public's interest, not the special interests. Above all, the Green Party is committed to grassroots democracy and citizen empowerment. I think that's our overarching issue, under which the Green Party has a variety of other issues. And because the Green Party believes in grassroots democracy, different groups will have different issues and different agendas depending on where they are. For many of us, and for my campaign, our second and third issues would be sustainable and just economic development, development that captures the wave of economic growth that we can have in a sustainable and just way, in a way that protects health and the environment at the same time that we grow jobs and grow new business opportunities. One of those areas is sustainable energy, renewables, and green, clean energy, which is now cost competitive with fossil fuels. Conservation, in fact, is the cheapest form of new energy. There's absolutely no reason why we shouldn't be going there. We're not going there because our government and our political parties are funded by the old, dirty fossil fuel industries. Otherwise, we would be going there. It's a no-brainer. It's a win-win solution. So we want to put sustainable and just economic development on the table as our second issue. Probably our third issue, at least for my campaign, is single-payer universal health care. This is a system, again, which is a no-brainer. It's in use in every other industrialized country throughout the world. It's only the U.S. that's not using it. And all other countries spend less than we do and have better public health to show for it, because under a single-payer system, we save a lot of money. Instead of frittering out up to 30% of every healthcare dollar on bureaucracy, red tape, advertising, and high CEO salaries, healthcare dollars go to healthcare. The Green Party and the Rainbow Coalition Party have been working together for some time on a number of social and economic justice issues and environmental justice issues. And we began to realize, that we are working together on this. Our platforms are virtually identical. We're coming from different histories and to some extent from different cultures. This is a very fluid time in politics in Massachusetts. We see people leaving the mainstream parties by the droves because they're not being served economically in terms of social justice, in terms of the environment and healthcare and housing. In every dimension of political life, people feel to be in crisis. People recognize there's a connection between those crises and the fact that there is a noose around Beacon Hill. That noose is the noose of big money. The fact that 70% of our legislators run for re-election without an opponent because they have a lot of insider funding. People see this now with Enron, and the Enron debacle. Enron basically bought itself public policy with what? $5 million over a couple of years. But that's a drop in the bucket compared to how much big money is actually going into the political system. People get it now that the control of big money over the political process really removes our elected officials from accountability to people. They become accountable to the big money that gets them elected. We are committed. We are here because we are fighting for our lives, for our health, for our justice, for our schools, for our communities, for our future. People come to this because they get that the system isn't working. If you look at Jesse Ventura's campaign, he was a people-powered campaign. He was outspent 15-1, and he won overwhelmingly. I think we will continue to be an impassioned, people-powered campaign, and we are committed. Whether the money is there or not, whether the legislature continues to break the law or not, we are here for the long haul. We are not going away. And the more the legislature insults the public and our yearnings for democracy and justice, I think the more Tom Finneran is swelling our ranks. So go for it, Tom Finneran. You're behaving like a double agent. You're our best recruiter for the Green Party. As soon as I have an opportunity to talk the issues, people are astonished, and people forget about the party and the label. In Massachusetts, we don't have clear-cut differences between our political parties. Witness, that the Democrats and Republicans sort of swap places in terms of progressiveness around clean elections, around the social services budgets in the 2000 2002 budget, when it was Jane Swift who was out doing the photo ops in front of the homeless shelters and who was advocating for more human services funding. Witness the legislature now hatcheting the social service and the education budget for 2003. So people are very confused about party identity in Massachusetts. The largest voting bloc to start with are independents.
Okay, cool.
We don't want to be listed in our voters. Registered independent or?
Yeah, I'll do this in just 1 second.
So you would start.
Okay.
Thank you for your work at the national level and also
What really got me launched into the Greens was walking into a Nader party that included black, white, rich, and poor, and people from all over the spectrum. And I said, wow, this is something really different. And I think, as someone who's worked in the environmental world for many years, we are clearly on a sinking ship. And unless we really change, and grow ourselves and become a broader coalition, if we stick to where we came from, and we did to some extent originate from an environmental movement, if we stay there, we will continue to be on a sinking ship. And it's only by building a broader, powerful coalition that we're going to change the game here. So I think this is essential.
We can't finish.
Everybody's waiting to talk. You will
So I'd like to first have James O'Keefe. Okay, here he comes. I've been told I have 4 minutes. I'll try to keep this 3. Our hero, Ralph Nader. Thank you very much, first of all, to everyone who is here to come into this momentous convention, and for everyone here who has gone and helped get signatures for myself, Jill Stein, Tony Lorenzen, and all the other Green Party candidates who are running in this year's election. For those of you who don't know, last year was a fabulous year with 8 Greens in elected office, and my hope is with this merger, 9 with Chuck Turner. It's been fabulous. This year's going to be great. Once we get all our candidates on the ballot, get clean elections money, Massachusetts is never going to be the same. We need to make sure that the people control how we invest this Commonwealth's money. That the people decide what values go behind those investments, not simply values of the bottom line, although that's important. Both my parents are public school teachers, so it's their retirement, and I care about that. But that values such as social justice, grassroots democracy, nonviolence, and ecology have to go behind those so that people can make those decisions. They can decide if they don't want to invest in GE and its nuclear power plant, so they can decide if they don't want to invest in Nike and its sweatshops. And they have to have that decision. And we have to go out there and invest in Massachusetts. We hear about a budget deficit of $2 billion, cuts of $2 billion. Why are we giving tax breaks to Raytheon and Fidelity? To the tune of $600 million every year that goes to them, ostensibly for keeping jobs in Massachusetts, but it doesn't. It goes to fatten their profits. If we want to keep jobs in Massachusetts, we should invest in small businesses, green businesses that are going to be here. Jobs in energy conservation, renewable energy, jobs that pay a living wage. That's what we need to do in order to make the Commonwealth the most sustainable state in the United States. If Denmark can get 15% of its energy from wind power, why can't we? One thing I learned from being in the Greens, from getting my master's in economics, is that we need to value all of our assets and liabilities. The Treasurer currently values the financial ones, but there are ones that are far more valuable. Our forests, our wetlands, our fisheries, our children's health, our public higher education system, all of these are assets. And that we don't count them means we're going to make the wrong decision. So we need to count them, and it's a very simple thing we can do. It's something that I'm committed to doing. So So those are the issues that I'm running on, and I thank you very much for your support. I stood up here nearly a year ago and announced, at the last convention, and announced, and the support's been great. We already have, my campaign already has 10,000 signatures that we need to get on the ballot. We're going for 12 to 13,000 total, so we'll be on there. But we need your help. We need your help to get Jill and to get Tony and to get the other Green Party candidates on. So I want every one of you to sign up after this. Come down to Earth Fest, come out tomorrow if you're in the area, and get out there so we can get those numbers by May 7th, and we can upset the current, well, at this point really, one-party system in Massachusetts, and show the citizens of Massachusetts that there is an alternative, and it's one they should be proud of. Thank you very much.
The residents, I've been waiting to hear from you guys.
Welcome. It is with sincere humility and a pledge to honor your confidence in me with grace and integrity that I accept your nomination to be the Massachusetts Green Party candidate for Lieutenant Governor. Since I have joined the Green Party and since I have been involved with this campaign, I have been awed by the efforts and convictions of green and rainbow volunteers across the state. You are the true heroes of democracy. I'm a Green because I believe in our values. My parents taught me these values. They taught me to seek peace, work for justice, and respect the earth. They taught me to participate in democracy because everyone deserves a say in the decisions that affect their lives. As Lieutenant Governor, I will work to replace the current values of greed, influence peddling, and power that dominate our state government with the values of grassroots democracy, ecological awareness, and public service. Green values are not radical fringe ideas and ideals. They are the values of working class people in Massachusetts. I believe that we, the working people of Massachusetts, the tax-paying citizens of the Commonwealth, are holding up our end of the covenant with government. We deserve a few basic things in return. We deserve clean air to breathe, clean water to drink, and clean land to live on.
Yeah.
For holding up our end of the covenant, we deserve a minimum wage that is a living wage that allows full-time workers to meet the basic needs of a family. We deserve quality, affordable housing in all our communities. We deserve a health care system that covers all our citizens. We deserve an economy that promotes green and clean business. We deserve a public education system that has high standards for both teachers and students. An educational system that recognizes different learning styles, multiple intelligences, and the need for multiple assessments, not a single standardized test to measure achievement. Above all, we deserve clean elections. All voices can be heard in our political system, so that the loud cries of big money and the soft whispers of backroom deals are no longer the way we do business in Massachusetts politics. The Green Party, the Rainbow Party, we will bring this leadership. Leadership is not about the ability to provide all the answers. Leadership is about seeking new ways to solve problems. In order to seek new solutions to our problems, we must do government differently. As a teacher, I have spent my professional life in service to my students. As the next Lieutenant Governor of the Commonwealth, I will spend my time in office in service to the citizens of Massachusetts. I will owe nothing to corporations, lobbying interests, and political action committees because I will accept no money from them.
Yeah.
on the concerns of tenants and renters and homeowners and home buyers, not on the concerns of real estate development people. I will work until signs of their specialties can be used to help the people that they know and they serve.
And now it's my extra privilege to introduce Jill Stein, our next governor.
Thank you. It's an unbelievable honor and privilege to accept the nomination of the Green Party as candidate for governor of Massachusetts. And I'm delighted to be the nominee of the fastest growing party in Massachusetts and the only clean money party running candidates for governor this year. And it's a special honor to be a part of this historic moment as the Green Party and the Rainbow Coalition come together to form a powerful and unstoppable force for social, economic, and environmental justice and democracy. I sincerely hope that all of our campaigns can help build this coalition to become an unstoppable groundswell to take our government back from the big money special interests and get Beacon Hill working for all of us again. In healthcare, the uninsured have doubled in the past 10 years. We now pay more than any nation in the industrialized world, and we have worse healthcare statistics to show for it, and an unconscionable racial disparity in access and in health. The cost of housing has gone through the roof. Massachusetts now ranks 48 out of the 50 states in affordability of housing. And public higher education has been systematically dismantled over the past 10 years, to where we are 49th in funding for public higher education. And despite all the boom, all the hype about the boom of the last 10 years, we have to say a boom for whom?
Yeah.
Under the policies of our special interest government, it's been a boom for the richest 20%. While jobs have transitioned from manufacturing to a low-wage service economy, all other groups other than that richest 20% have actually lost income, and many have lost benefits and security and opportunities for advancement. The gap between rich and poor has never been greater, and in Massachusetts, poverty is at its highest rate in decades. With big money at the helm, the environment is unraveling. Diseases increasingly linked to the environment, asthma, many cancers and learning disabilities are on the rise, and the communities of color have become the dumping ground for dangerous facilities and harmful emissions. And indeed, developers continue to devour open space and to build housing predominantly for profit while using that open space, and $1 million lobbying industry on behalf of developers in the real estate industry ensures that the laws will permit them to continue building for profit. Half of our rivers have become polluted, we've outgrown our water supply, our fisheries are dwindling, and the globe is warming. And democracy itself is being dismantled in the legislature, and with the recent moves, the legislature is violating not only the law, but also the Constitution and the mandate of the Supreme Court itself by refusing to fund the Clean Elections Law passed overwhelmingly. It's time for the legislature to release that $20 million.
Yeah.
Clearly, this government of the big money money special interest of the backroom deals is not serving us. It's time to pull up out of this tailspin while we still can. It's time to put the special interest out, to put the public interest back into the driver's seat on Beacon Hill. We can work for that, and as your governor, I will work for that. We can have a sustainable, just economy that preserves the environment, that protects our health, that provides new jobs at living wages, and that conserves our natural resources while we grow a sustainable economy. We can implement living wage standards and keep our families out of poverty. We can promote universal single-payer health care and provide health to all for less cost than what we're currently paying, because health care to just some. We can provide quality education for all, preserve bilingual education choices, and end the use of MCAS as a graduation requirement. We can restore public higher education, which is critical not only for our democracy, but for opportunity and advancement for kids of color and for working class kids. It's also critical for the expansion of our economy in the new knowledge-based economy to come. We can empower our communities to decide how much pollution they want to have in their communities. We can restore the cuts to our budget responsibly. We can close the budget gap fairly, not balancing it on the backs of the elderly, students, and single moms as our legislature would propose. In the past decade, we implemented a $4 billion tax cut largely for the rich. We need to put those tax cuts for the rich back on the table, and we should start by closing the capital gains tax loophole. And we need to begin moving towards instant runoff voting so we stop splitting the progressive vote. Having been all up and down and across the state more times than I can count over the past many months, I can say that voters are not just ready for a change, they are desperate for a change. Yep. This party and our joint Rainbow Green Party provide the only vehicle for that change. With crises in virtually every dimension of public life, there is no better time to launch a powerful, unstoppable coalition founded on principles of health, social and economic justice, sustainability, and democracy. With the power of this coalition, we can take our government back, empower citizens, and begin building the healthy, just, sustainable, flourishing society that we all deserve. As you all probably know, the lieutenant governor and the governor, the candidates both need 10,000 valid signatures. We have those signatures, but to be sure that we have valid signatures, we need at least 20,000. We have to double our numbers in the next 10 days. So if these issues mean something to you, I really urge you to make the petition drive your first priority. If you have other deadlines that are further away, to please come with us, be a part of this team, work with us in this coalition. We can only do this together. We need you. Commit, if you can, 10 hours over the next 10 days in whatever way you want. If there are hundreds of us out on the streets, they can't stop us. Thank you.
You're beautiful. You're
Hi, this is Amy Kelly, and we're back talking with Ken Ostrander, who is running for state representative with the Green Party. And you've just seen a clip there from the Green Party endorsing convention. And
wasn't it great?
Yeah, it was actually.
It's really exciting.
You hardly ever get to see Jill Stein anywhere because there's no coverage, so.
It's true.
I'm excited. And, you know, she talked a lot about restoring democracy, about empowering citizens, about, you know, taking care of the environment and things like that. Now, you are pretty interested in environmental causes as well.
Oh, yeah. That's one of my major issues. And, you know, it's funny because I've been going to, there's Chestnut Hill Reservoir is located actually at the crux of several communities in Boston, in the Boston area, Newton, Brookline, and Brighton. And this is it's a beautiful space, a beautiful natural space. Wildlife are there, all kinds of fowl, and but it's fenced off. Nobody can actually go in there and enjoy it. It hasn't been kept up. The public stewardship for this area it's deplorable. It's really scandalous, actually. And there's some waterworks buildings that are across the street from that site that are falling into disrepair because of neglect, because they haven't been kept up. And I really, I can't imagine where all that money went. Actually, I can. But now there's a group a group that's trying to create a request for proposals. What they're proposing is that we create some new development in that area to pay for the refurbishment and upkeep of those buildings, which, because public stewardship seems to have failed. It's, I don't know, it seems like a dangerous precedent to me. And I know that there's all kinds of people in the community that are up in arms about it. They're talking about putting in a 7-story high-rise there, which it's, and the idea of actually just refurbishing the buildings themselves and using them, just using those buildings hasn't even been addressed. They're kind of trying to go for the big enchilada. It seems like the whole process is kind of geared towards developers, It's, and you see that everywhere.
Yeah, you talk here a little bit about how to support the local and worker-owned businesses instead of these big national chains.
Well, when you think about it, a national chain comes into a community, they'll provide some jobs, and perhaps some services that people will want to go and, they've heard about, they see the commercials, they want to go and check out Kmart or Starbucks or whatever. And but where the money's going, aside from these jobs, is out of the community. It's going back to big corporate headquarters.
Right.
And that's really just not it's not good for the community.
And it's not good for the beautification aspect either. When you see the same stores everywhere, it's certainly.
Do you really need a Starbucks on every corner?
No.
Probably not. But
I don't think so, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, and the idea that you have these big corporations that we give enormous tax breaks to stay in the state. We give them free rein, and the money isn't going to. It's going to fill the to the CEOs. It's going to profit for the profit margin.
Yeah. Now, speaking of taxes, it says here that you're interested in taxing 10% of all earnings in excess of $1 million. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that all these rich people that they have these tax loopholes that they're able to maintain this huge amount of wealth. They were talking about the boom years, the boom for whom? Well, it was for these people, and they aren't really paying taxes on this stuff.
Right.
And, whenever we talk about tax breaks and everything, those tax breaks essentially help the rich people more than the common folk who have to still pay, their grocery taxes. They have to pay state taxes, property taxes. And for a wealthy person, you talk about a tax on your automobile. If you make it try and make it a flat rate, which is what I've seen proposals for, try to make it a flat rate, then person who's got these luxury vehicles, they're paying the same as someone who's driving their beat up old Ford or whatever.
Right.
But I'm actually more in favor of lowering the number of cars total on the street and trying to provide more bike paths, more incentives for people to walk and to take public transportation.
Yeah. And
what I'm really interested in is, I think we could start in Allston Brighton, is to create community power. We talked about how we have these power industries. coal burning plants, nuclear facilities. They're all they create pollution for energy. You look at a nuclear plant. What does it do? It takes this a massive amount of energy, and what do they do with it? They heat water to create steam to create electricity. To me, it's just like overkill, and it's not renewable. I mean, it's polluting. They have to find something to do with the waste. I mean, they're talking about putting nuclear waste in the Yucca Mountain range, and it's deplorable, a deplorable situation. There's renewable energy sources. Solar and wind can be used in tandem, and I've read about there's magnetic energy sources where you can have a magnetic flywheel that can sustain itself. You know, if there's no wind and sun for a period of time, the magnetic flywheel can produce the power. There's so much technology that's out there, and it's not being there's no money being put into it.
Right.
And I personally think it's because you can't sell wind and you can't sell sunlight.
Yeah.
You know, but you can sell oil.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I guess it makes sense that we're not looking into those sorts of options, because if a lot of the decisions politically are being made or being driven by big money, then it makes sense that none of these things are being looked into, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody's, I mean, if you're making decisions based on money, then, you know, who's that serving? I mean, is that really going to serve the common good? Probably not.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to trust people who make decisions based on money anyway.
Or solely
how
on
can
money.
that, yeah.
Obviously, you got to look at the bottom line.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
There's so many possibilities, you know, that are just not being addressed, not being looked at.
Right. Yeah. All right, let's see. Now, the voting reform and clean elections, you're talking about...
Oh, yeah. There's so many things that we could do. I mean, just running for office, going door to door, and what I've had to go through to get the signatures, just some of the little rules that you have to follow, and the way it's sort of skewed against third parties, you know, to try and keep them down.
Right.
I think you should make it easier for people to get on the ballot. You should give them a longer amount of time to get out there and talk to people, especially since their resources are more limited than these more well-established connected parties.
Yeah, it does. In a way, it seems like a lot of the values from the 60s are coming back again in this Green Party. It's just sort of the values of, you know, caring about the earth, caring about democracy, just trying to work together, and actually participating in community instead of just sitting back and letting things happen. Well,
yeah, you know, it was interesting what was said at the convention on the tape that you know, people don't feel like invested in what's going on. You know, they don't feel like they can make a difference. They don't feel like government works for them. You know, they're disillusioned, and a lot of people don't even vote. Don't even register to vote.
Well, I guess if you feel like you're not making a difference, then what's the point of trying, right? So I guess the issue that
the point is to make things better.
Yeah,
you know?
The Green Party is coming up saying that you can make a difference. In other words, this helplessness that people have learned, like, well, what difference does it make if I vote or not? It's all the same, you know. I guess...
Yeah, those politicians are all the same.
Yeah.
I don't like to think of myself as a politician. Actually.
Well, you're certainly not
I've been
an average politician, yeah.
I've been told that because I work in the political realm, you know, I'm a politician. I don't know, I prefer the term politico.
Well, you know, politico. Well, I think that's part of, you know, the issue that Jill Stein has, actually, in terms of her not being a quote-unquote politician, because, you know, I think there is a certain level of charisma and, you know, spunk. That's sort of the Ralph Nader idea as well. You know, I guess that's why a lot of these politicians are very successful, because they end up, you know, talking the talk, but they can't necessarily walk the walk. And, you know.
I think they get by because nobody sees anything else. I mean, nobody else gets exposure to the media. No one else gets on the ballot. You know, these people run unopposed so often. It's deplorable.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you could go in and not vote for any of them, and they still make it in.
Right, right. Now, we have a couple of minutes left.
Well, we got more than a couple.
Did you want to recap or anything? Oh, we do?
Yeah.
Oh.
Plenty of time.
I thought she just gave me a 2. Okay. Yeah, okay, good. Let's see, what else was I thinking about here? So just now I was talking about the sustainable and just economy, fair wages. I think that's a pretty interesting.
A living wage.
A living wage.
People
yes.
Can work in this city and not make enough to pay rent to live in this
I
city.
know. You know, I've been in human services myself, and you know, I have only earned in the low 20s. How can you live in Boston in the low 20s? There's no. That's not a living wage.
Well, you got to live with a bunch of people in a
Yes,
house that's
yes.
that's made for fewer than a bunch of people.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, the rents are just they're going. We've already talked about this,
Yeah,
the whole
I know.
affordable housing issue, but
It's all tied together. All of this is tied in.
well, it's amazing because you know when you look at it, it seems like so many things that need to be done that need to be addressed, and it's just you don't hear about it. It gets glossed over. It's you know there's people and they talked in the convention about how people go. They're confused by the parties because you know you see the Republicans doing one thing and the Democrats doing one thing and then they flip-flop.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we do have about a minute left.
Yeah, we have about a minute left.
And
do you have anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to get in there?
well, I think that people can take their democracy back. I
Yes.
really think that if people see the enthusiasm of the Green Party, you know, that these are people that have family values,
Yes.
that they have
Yes.
the values of common people in mind. They want to bring people in. They don't want to be exclusionary. They want to
Right.
they want to empower everyone.
Right.
And that's really what it's all about, trying to create a common trying to build the common interest,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
There is a common interest
Empower
there.
the citizens. Yeah. And maybe we have to just start by educating people and take it from there, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how much longer we have, but
Vote green.
yeah.